Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trucking Tower podcast. I'm very excited to be joined today by Jim Angel, who is the Vice President of Video Telematics at EROAD. How are you doing today, Jim?
Great, Andy. Appreciate the time today.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on with me. You know, you and I share a really common background, and we're going to be talking about some trends and keys to success today. I just want to kick off the show by thanking our sponsor, TruDiligence. If you'd like to streamline your background checks and save time and money, be sure and click on the link below. So, Jim, you and I both go back quite a few years within technology in the trucking industry. And I wanted to ask you kind of what inspired you? Who are you surrounded with that got you involved with what you're doing today?
Well, Andy, that goes all the way back to my college days when I was loading JCPenney freight on a dock, putting myself in school. And, it's such an interesting industry because even though you're doing the same thing every day, getting things from point A to point B, a phone call can change that. And so, about 23 years of my career was spent on the industry side of the business, where you got the opportunity to see evolving technologies and those that embrace that. And I'd like to think that I was one of those and took the opportunity to, really glean good data and information to improve your operation. I think really when it comes down to it, I finally saw myself in a position that rather than helping out only the fleet that I was working for, that I had the opportunity to join a company that then we could put tools and solutions together that would help more fleets. At the end of the day, I'm just incredibly passionate about providing solutions to an industry that I truly believe is the backbone of America. I mean, everything moves on our trucks, and unfortunately, our men and women that are out there driving those, I don't feel like that they get the amount of respect that they deserve. And so if I can provide things that help make their jobs easier and help in return make our carriers more efficient, I think that's what really drives me.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing to see the transformation that's happened across the last 20 years is basically when I've been involved. And it's amazing to see the things that have happened. But like you said, the trucking industry moves our economy, and it's so critical. And I love talking about solutions having come from that world. So it's fun to see it unfolding out there in the field. And I also understand you have some exciting news, recent news that you are going to share as well.
Yeah, end of June, Andy, we released, of course, combined companies now. We acquired Cortex back in December, and we released the Core Hub Extreme, which is really specific to the trucking and cold chain supply industry. And then in addition to that, end of June, we released 2 mobile applications, both for our back office and also what we call our driver assist app. Those apps actually are featured in today's technology short in CCJ Daily Review. So it was nice that they picked that up again, even though it released end of June. So yeah, 3 exciting things. And in addition to that, we're going to be at the Refrigerated Conference middle of this month, I believe around the 17th, I think. Okay,
very cool. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with CCJ and articles and different things over the years. That's really cool. And so you guys will want to find Jim or your team over at the show as well. So in terms of some of the key challenges that you're seeing out there and hearing in the marketplace in recent years, what are some of the key challenges that you're hearing about?
Well, Andy, as you know, my title alludes to the fact that I head up the video telematics team at EROAD and have been doing that now, involved in video for about the last 11 years. So what's near and dear to my heart are nuclear verdicts and insurance costs that are directly reflected. And that's a solution that can provide, great value to those areas. But we all pay attention to the ATRI study that comes out on the top 10. And of course, driver recruiting is still up at the very top of that. And how that ties in, I think, with some of the things that I'm responsible for is in and around that driver privacy and how much you utilize a driver-facing camera versus a forward-facing camera, and then all the telematics that goes along with that. And what I think is really, really important and crucial is to understand the level of the solution that can really help you manage against those things. And that's why I'm so passionate about video, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to an accident, the ability to visually see what's happened is really the information that makes it most impactful, that allows a company to then make the best business decision afterwards, knowing and at least understanding, I would say 95% of what happened. Sure, there's maybe some of the things that aren't quite understood in only the visualization, and you want to go back and look at the telematics in and around the gas pedal, the brake, whether or not the truck was on cruise and some things like that, and get really forensic about it. But at the end of the day, visually, you can tell whether or not that car pulled out in front of your truck, or whether that car veered into the lane, or whether that car jumped into the lane and slammed on their brakes in front of the truck. And, you know, the white paper that was done by American Trucking Association way back in February of 2013, and I still love to utilize that because they did a really nice job bringing together 17 different research institutes' findings in regards to catastrophic collisions between automobiles and trucks. Mm-hmm. And these are directly related to fatality collisions. And ultimately, what all of those found was a collective summary in the fact that truck drivers were only at fault of those collisions 9 to 20% of the time, based on the research institute that studied that. And then Michigan Transportation came out and boldly said that it's highly likely you're not able to take advantage of those statistics without video. And I still talk to carriers about that today, because quite honestly, when it comes to accident investigation, that can be your number one solution to really understand what happened. And ultimately, even when it might be your driver's fault in one of those low percentage cases, you have the opportunity to know and understand and aggressively maybe close that claim, understand what position you have, and know what you're trying to do to even utilize the fact that I don't want to walk away from this. I want to understand that my company's responsible, but how can I take care of that individual that was involved in that as quickly as possible?
Right, absolutely. You know, nuclear verdicts has been in the news in recent years, and it's affecting the trucking industry, no doubt. So very great advice there. In terms of success, what would you say are 2 or 3 key things that executives in the trucking industry should know?
Oh boy, I think utilization of the information that all these solutions provide, from an OE level of what they're getting from the truck, from a telematics standpoint of what they're getting from information about their driver, their load, and their truck. Even the hours of service information, now that everybody's electronic and required to be, being able to utilize that information to plan better, act better. If I had to sum it up, I would say utilizing the data, making it easy enough to use and actionable, that absolutely makes an impact on your operation. Absolutely.
Great advice there. And Jim, what are the best ways for people to connect with you?
Oh, I'm obviously out on LinkedIn. My email is pretty easy to find, and of course, reaching out to LinkedIn, and unfortunately, and then give away my age here, because I've been in the industry so long, I'm pretty well networked, and there's usually somebody that knows how to get a hold of me.
Right. Well, you know, I think your network is extremely important, and the trucking industry has been so good to me for 20 some odd years. And the network is extremely important, no doubt about it. So what would you say as a final word of advice for our friends out there listening or watching today?
Don't try to do everything at once. You know, we have the opportunity to slice and dice information about our operations that allow us to focus on a particular area. And I think you have then the opportunity to do that in ranking order, whether that has to do with driver safety, fuel optimization, trailer utilization, whatever those are. You can utilize the tools that you have to focus on that one thing, and do it where you have the largest opportunity to make the impact in your operation, and just start checking those off. You know, I love to make the example around driver safety, as it's across all your drivers, is that what's most important is to be able to know, who do I talk to and what do I talk to them about? And the type of analytics that you can get from telematics and video today allows you to know that, hey, Andy's like one of my problem children, right? I need to spend a little more time with Andy because his score is, let's say, in the top 20% of risk compared to his or her peers in the fleet, where maybe Tom or Frank or Susan, they're down in the, let's call it that 80% that are pretty much doing everything they're asked to do. Well, by trying to send a message out to the entire group that some of that may not apply to the folks that are doing their job on a daily basis and doing it very well, not creating events, not having accidents, but then being able to focus the attention on that area gives you the largest opportunity to make impact on your operation, right? The old 80-20 rule is it absolutely states that 10 to 20% of your drivers usually equate to about 65% of the risk. So where should you be spending your time? Well, if you take that lesson and take it over to the rest of your fleet, like trailer utilization, fuel optimization, outer route miles, right? Still a huge thing. Nobody should have outer route miles anymore with the technology that's available. But once again, taking those an item at a time really allow you to make a larger impact on the operation and focus on those and then move to the next one.
Right, absolutely. There's an old saying, don't try and boil the ocean.
Exactly.
Take it an area at a time and focus on it. And great words of advice, Jim. I, again, really appreciate you coming on with me today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, Andy. It's great to talk to you again. And I really appreciate you reaching out and giving me the opportunity to, share. I won't brag and say it's words of wisdom, but at least it's a humble opinion.
No, it's based on
a lot of years out there.
You've got a lot of great advice from many years in the industry. We were talking offline. We both go way back and have common roots at companies together. So yeah, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your advice today. That's going to do it for this edition of the Trucking Tower Podcast. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.